Tourette's podcast is not a medical advice show. It's a show about experiences. In the course of that, we may talk about medications or therapies or stories from the doctor's office, but don't mistake any of that for medical advice or direction. It's not. Get that only from people or places licensed or certified to give it, not from a massively fun and action-packed podcast about our life experiences, such as...
I can talk all day because talking about Tourette's with someone who can relate is a really comforting thing.
This is Tourette's podcast, made possible with support of the Tourette Association of America and part of the Geeks Rising Network. Hey, it's Ben. So I don't know exactly at what point you're going to hear this episode. But for me right now, it's the early evening of January 8th, and I'm preparing for the Teen Summit, the virtual Teen Summit. That's Saturday, January 9th. I'll be one of the presenters on the subject of vulnerability and self-advocacy and disclosure. That's a really appropriate topic for this episode you're about to hear today. This episode is, this one's important, and I'll get to why in just a minute, but if you're signed up for the Teen Summit, awesome. Can't wait. It's a good full schedule that doesn't overdo it, which I really love when it comes to events. It's got a great balance of things, and it doesn't belabor the topic. It just does it perfect respect. Hats off to the Tourette Association for doing a good event. Keep in mind for the future, you can always see what's coming up at Tourette.org and click attend an event. Also now available, you can find it at Tourette.org, is the 2020 annual report from the Tourette Association. I'll link to it in the show notes with this episode at tourettespodcast.com. It includes a few words about the podcast, the Tourette Association being the primary sponsor. Lots of really impressive numbers and milestones here. For example, in fiscal 2020, which I think covers July 2019 to July 2020, more than 1,140 Tourette advocates were trained, including youth ambassadors. That's an awesome program. $2 million in funding was approved in support for the nationwide CDC Tourette syndrome and tic disorder initiatives. More than 120 congressional meetings held to advocate for TS. By the way, Tourette.org, click attend an event and sign up now for the 2021 Day of Advocacy so we can keep this going. And remember the annual gala that they just did, the one I was honored to have emceed? Well, the 2019 version of that, which was an in-person gala, being pre-COVID, that gala raised $1 million. $1 million raised in the 2019 gala. Lots of impressive numbers. Again, I'll link to it at tourettespodcast.com. The fiscal 2020 annual report from the Tourette Association of America, which also has a lot of good articles and spotlights. I want to thank new members of the Tourette's Podcast discussion group run by the amazing Sophia in the UK. We've got Katie, Josh, and I can't remember if I also thanked Nicole, Sean, and Allie last week, but if so, thank you again for joining us in the discussion group. We've got some more tattoo submissions. There are two more right here. One from Alex that I really love, and again, these are mental health tattoos, things people have put on their skin as a reminder to keep going. You can send me yours at tourettespodcast@gmail.com. This one from Alex says, "Too weird to live, too rare to die," which I love. It's in this typewriter font, which makes me like it even more. Thanks, Alex, for submitting that. And here's one from Shelby, who has a tattoo that's just one word. It just says, fight. Capital letters, fight. In kind of like a bold Helvetica type font. Good mental health tattoo. Shelby also asks, how are you feeling today? I just ate more sushi than I should have been okay eating. I ordered a mix of Thai food and sushi today because it's cold and dreary outside. Really cold, actually, for central North Carolina. And my house, it was built in the 1940s. And as maybe I've said before, the only insulation is whatever died in the walls. And on cold occasions like this, Thai food and heavy sushi is just kind of a cure. Just feels right on days like this. You can kind of hear it in my voice that the temperature's changing. Otherwise, great. I finished my photography book. It's a book of my photography, which I'm getting printed in hardback. Got the proof coming in shortly. Can't wait to see it. And beyond there, I don't know. I got a decent night of sleep, so I don't feel quite like the languid zombie that I often feel like these days. Hope everybody's doing well. This episode, just take it all the way through. Our guest is Shikhar, who grew up in India and more recently relocated to Vancouver. And it hasn't been a great time. Not only bullied for his ticking, he also deals with racism and people mocking his voice. He's 18 years old. He's wrapping up high school. And I know he's not the only one out there experiencing this in the Tourette community. And if that's you, I hope you connect with this episode, which is really challenging at some points and feels really good at other points. And I think we end really strongly here. I feel like I'm better for having talked to Shikhar and hitting points that we haven't hit enough on this show. So even though we deal with heavy subjects like bullying and racism, there's a lot of optimism here. And I thank you guys, the listeners, for that. And you'll hear what I mean. Here's me and Shikhar.
Okay, my name is Shikhar Sehgal. I was originally born in New Delhi, India, and now I'm living in Vancouver, Canada.
And you're I think you said you were 18, right?
Yeah, I'm 18.
Gotcha. So this is the tail end of high school, or is it already wrapped up? Or
No, grade 12, like last year.
so what's life like for you right now? Just to kind of set the tone, what's been your experience with your peers, with school?
I was diagnosed with Tourette's like in 2015, right? So,
Okay.
but I knew I had something going on, like issues with my mind, OCD, and all before that, because I was noticing I was doing like things which I used to repeat again and again. Like when I used to walk in my house, I used to touch the walls all the time, like a tic of mine which is shaking my head. It was there since I was very small, like since before it was diagnosed.
Yeah.
So like the experience with my peers has not been very great, because back in India it was fine because nobody knew over there, but over here it is very visible
Yeah.
because my tics have increased after I came to Canada in April 2019.
Okay.
So after that, I have been like bullied in school, and it was a new school, new country, and that was not a good experience. So yeah, that was pretty bad for me. I had to go to these school counselors. They guided me, but there was like not a proper solution to it. Meaning that the kids who were bullying me were told not to do this because I have Tourette's. Nothing had happened. So still, I'm scared to go to school. I'm doing online currently, but we have an option to go to school. So
Yeah.
like today, I had a law exam. So I went to school, told them give me a separate room for the exam. So they were kind enough to do that, and I gave the exam, and I just came back.
What's the bullying like? I mean, are they just mocking your tics, or like how does that go?
Yeah, they mock everything I do. They make fun of the way I walk. They make fun of the way I speak. Like I play guitar, right? So in school, whenever I'll be playing, they're gonna make comments like you don't have money, so that's why you're playing. You're earning from us and all, and my tics too. Tics is a broader prospect of my bullying experience, and otherwise it has been the same too. So in people do the same things that I do just to mock me. And yeah.
So when you said they make fun of the way you talk, is this kind of bullying about tics mixed with some racism, or is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
So what's and forgive me for not knowing this, what's the Indian population like in Vancouver?
There are I'm from Delhi. New Delhi is the capital, right? So New Delhi borders a state called Punjab.
Mm-hmm.
And in Canada, there are a lot of people from Punjab. So it is like they are my friends, but many people target us for being from India.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the case is like that, but there's a lot of Indian population in Canada, mixed from all parts of India, from south and mostly from northern India.
So do you have an immediate Indian community, a group of friends, or are you kind of isolated?
I have some friends, but they all have graduated. They have jobs. So like I don't go out. I'm scared. Actually, I'm scared to go out because people are gonna make fun of me, and I'm scared to confront that I have Tourette's, because it's not easy for me to tell anybody that I have Tourette's. Nobody knows except for my family.
Huh. So
Yeah.
Do your teachers know?
Yeah, my counselors and one of my teachers know, because I was caught for plagiarism. because I had no idea what to do in the assignment. So I just copied it from the internet, and I told her that she told me that you plagiarized. I'm like, yeah, because my mind doesn't work academically. I don't know how to do this like assignment. So she's like, she didn't reply in that mail and no response. And in school, I just gave the final test, and she just made me pass. That was a good gesture.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, when I was going through school, and my experience was a little bit different, but it was a lot different actually. But I was a terrible test taker. And when you said that, you don't think in the same way academically, I really relate to that. Now I know a lot of other people listening do as well. And I've heard people say that, like, I know the subject, I know, like, I feel like I have a grip on it, but when I'm tested on it or when I'm put on the spot, it's like everything just leaves my brain and I'm not able to perform and measure up, which leads to a lot of, personal insecurity and a lack of confidence. And that can really, when it comes to something like Tourette and anxiety and things like that, that can really kind of inflame it and make it all the worse. Have your teachers been relatively understanding about kind of your experience, or?
Yeah, they have. Because doing online school means I have to give exams in school, right? So I go I booked a spot from January 4th to January 19th for all of my 4 subjects.
Yeah.
So they like handle it very, very professionally. Like, they gave me a separate room, and they're saying if you need anything, just tell us. I had an anxiety attack while giving an exam day before yesterday.
Wow.
In between the exams, so they just told me that it's okay, we'll make you pass. But I'm like, no, I just want to complete the exam because I don't want to get marked for the things I have not done.
Right. Yeah.
So I just wrote whatever I knew, and I just ran out of the school.
Wow. Do you get a lot of anxiety attacks? Does that happen frequently?
I do, yes.
Jeez.
Panic attacks and anxiety attacks.
So you said you got diagnosed in 2019, right?
2015,
excuse me. So when you were growing up in India, this is something that wasn't really on the surface yet?
Yeah, it's like in India, there's a very weird stigma of going to a neuropsychologist, psychologist, or a psychiatrist. So like if someone says, I'm going to a psychiatrist, people are not going to view him or her as the same person who would have said, I'm going to a general physician to check if everything's right with me.
Right. So it's stigmatized and is seen as a weakness?
Yeah, it is. One of my friends is in India. She's going through very like a mental health issues, and she asked me like, I don't know what to do because everyone's judging me for going to a therapist. I'm like, just do what your mind says. You have to go, then you have to go. Don't care what anybody else says. But it's in the end, it's up to your health, not their health.
Can I ask how your family has regarded this?
So in the beginning, like when I was in a residential school in India. So I was living over there and with my friends. But when I used to talk on the phone with my mom every night, she noticed some like my tics. But I never knew at that time. So then she called me back home for like a month. Then we first went to an ENT, ear, nose, throat doctor. He did, what do you call it? The thing where you put the camera inside the throat.
Right. Yeah. Like a endoscopic type thing or...
Yeah, endoscopy. And then after that, he said there's some lumps on the back of my throat. So we're like, okay, it's gonna be fine. But my family supports me a lot. I have not seen. I can't compare myself to anybody else, but my family is really supportive. My brother, especially, he's in UBC. He's 22 years old. He supports me a lot.
Nice. Well, Tourette can be kind of a hereditary thing. Sometimes you see it elsewhere in the family. Are you the first one that you know of in your family?
No, there are my dad has this trick of clearing his throat, but he never got diagnosed because at that time when he was young, there was no system in India going to a psychiatrist or psychologist.
Yeah.
So he does it till date, and we say to get it checked. So he says, no, it's fine, it's nothing. But I think it might be a case of mild Tourette's.
See, This is really, I'm really glad we're talking about this. As we speak, I'm going to be speaking at the Teen Summit tomorrow, and I'm going to be talking about the power of vulnerability, because it helps you find community, and you can kind of study yourself more when you find other people who are similar to yourself, and you can kind of open up and find these things about yourself that maybe you didn't realize before. Have you had that, any kind of sense of community with other Touretters, or have you talked to other people online who are like yourself?
Actually, today I got a mail from Tourette's Association of America, because I just wanted to inquire sometime back. So the lady which sent me the mail said, I know a person, adult, who is in college and has Tourette. So I'm like, can you introduce me to him? She's like, are you sure? I will give you his number, and then you both can be in touch. That's the only person I will be getting to know. I don't know him as yet.
Wow. So, I mean, how are you handling this? I mean, this is a lot for you to be dealing with, socially, everything with bullying. I mean, how are you kind of keeping yourself together?
It's pretty hard. I just show on my face that I'm happy, but I'm actually not. I like none of my family know that I am not. They know I'm not happy, but they never knew that I was depressed. I am depressed right now. I just act like I'm happy. Okay, everything's fine. I'm getting average grades, and I'm happy. But actually, I'm not, because I'm very disturbed from the inside.
One thing that I think a lot of people want to know, because we're all in different places, and when it comes to this and the takeaways from a conversation like we're having, I guess in one sense, it's hearing you talk about your experiences will be really comforting to somebody else who has a similar life experience as you. Other people, they might want to know, when does this end? How does it get better? How do I break away from this and occupy my mind in ways where I can feel good about myself and confident? I mean, I don't want to use the word escape, but you know what I mean? Do you ever, do you have certain activities that you like to do to kind of change your mood? I mean, depression's tough, but...
music is a big getaway. I play guitar. I produce music from my keyboard.
Yeah.
So anytime I'm stressed and anytime I think my tics are going to increase, that I'm having a tic attack, I just pick up my guitar and start playing.
So that's something that, we hear a lot from the Tourette community, is that there's definitely this sort of advanced creativity, especially with music, visual arts as well, writing as well. But music just seems to be a really, really popular, not just an outlet. I mean, it's something that is a really strong talent within the Tourette community.
Yeah.
What is it about music to you? I mean, how does that speak to you?
Music to me is everything, because when I'm in every emotion I have is controlled by music. When I'm happy, I play guitar. When I'm sad, I play guitar, just to come in the right mood. And the story behind, do you want me to tell you the story why I joined music?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was because of a girl I liked back in India. So she was in a guitar class in my school. So I'm like, okay, I want to impress her. So I should play the guitar. And and I went in the class, I picked up the guitar for the first time. And the teacher took a test, and I got the worst mark. And he said, you'll never be able to play guitar in your life. So I took it as a challenge to prove him wrong. Yeah. And then now he's a really famous guitarist in India. And then he called me saying, oh, you should come to my show and play with us. I'm like, no, I'm not going to come to you because you demotivated me so much. So I just picked up the passion from there. I'm self-taught. I never learned from a proper teacher.
Yeah, that's the way I am too. It's been 6 years
since I've been playing. And I'm pretty good at it.
And I think it might relate to how sort of bad I was in the academic environment when it comes to traditional learning. I took music lessons when I was a kid, and they tried really hard to teach me to read sheet music, and it just wasn't taking. But I could hear music, and then I could immediately play it. I just knew how to play it based on just kind of hearing it by ear. And from that point on, I was like, I'm just going to be self-taught. I don't need... It seems like it goes bad when someone tries to add a sense of structure to it, but when I can do it on my own terms and do it my own way, that's where I can really let loose. And that's where music becomes a pleasure to me. And I feel more creative and it's more rewarding, you know?
True. I was supposed to be a part of the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra as a guitarist, but I didn't know how to read sheet music, so they just said that you aren't eligible for our orchestra because you don't know how to read sheet music.
That's like so unfair too. I mean, you have your own way of going about it.
I was so much looking forward to it. And the day before that, I get an email saying, sorry, we can't have you because you don't know how to read sheet music. And I can relate to you. As you said, when you listen to something, you can play it. Yeah, ear training is a big thing to learn, but like I can do it without learning. Like you did it without learning. Mm-hmm. I have the same qualities in guitar, and I wish to sing too, but I just can't. My tics trigger when I ever try to sing.
Well, I mean, I have a feeling that your musical proclivity could probably translate into other instruments. Have you explored further?
I have started playing keyboard, like a MIDI keyboard. I've started producing music.
Oh, nice. Like recording?
No, like recording on my laptop with softwares like FL Studio and all.
Yeah, that's so much fun. That's like a whole different level.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Like I'm in the stage of learning, and I just find new things every day. And I play till 2 a.m. at the night, and everybody say, "Okay, just go to sleep now."
That's my biggest problem. I don't know how to turn it off. I just keep going because it's like I don't want the party to be over. I want to keep at it, especially.
Yeah, but nowadays, like my mom's in India, so it's just me and my brother, and we just enjoy so much.
Yeah. What is there music in your family as well?
My mom used to play an Indian instrument called the sitar when she was in school.
I love the sitar.
Oh, nice. And my brother used to sing in a high school band in India.
What about visual arts? Have you messed with drawing, painting?
Yeah, visual arts I've tried. Like when I was diagnosed with a learning disability, I was in grade 10 at that time in India. And they told me to leave. I wanted to leave math and science because honestly, I have no scope in that. Whenever I used to get a question, I feel like crying. So they diagnosed me with a learning disability, saying you have low IQ. And then they put me into IT, which is computers and visual arts classes. So I did some painting and drawing. That was fun, but I actually didn't like
it. I like it while I'm doing it, but I don't necessarily feel urged to do it in the same way that I do with writing music, recording music. The recording is just such a different experience too. It's so fun because you can add layers and levels, and it's really rewarding. Yeah. So what happens with your tics when you're playing music or thinking about music?
So whenever when I'm thinking about music, I get excited. So my tics increase. When I'm not thinking about music, I get anxious. So then my tics increase.
Yeah.
And when I'm just about to open my mouth to sing, I just shout. Like when my tic is like a shrilling, shouting noise, and that just comes up.
I don't want to oversimplify your situation, but I definitely kind of see, because when I was younger, I mean, I fortunately was able to kind of mask my tics and kind of cover it up and keep people from knowing. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of put my musical self and my creative self forward, and that's how people, I guess, got to appreciate what I did. But I still didn't feel, completely myself because I was covering up a big portion of my life and not letting people know about it. And that kind of added to, I think, other stressors in my life where I just got too used to masking things and covering things up and trying to get by on it. And when I found music and when I found, other forms of expression, especially photography is a huge one with me, just leaning into that so much to where I tried to let that do the talking for me. Because, I shouldn't have to prove myself to people, but that's also kind of the way it is. People make these judgments about you. And if I do have a concern about it, I was hoping that people would accept me on my merits. And if they learned I had Tourette, then they might look at Tourette differently. They'll see, they'll see the talents and that kind of thing first. And then Tourette is something that maybe is kind of like an interesting wrinkle versus them knowing that I have Tourette first. And then, by the way, I'm also a musician or something. In your case, I mean, so people are just kind of identifying the Tourette in you. Have you developed kind of a fanfare with music, or is that something that you've still kind of kept kind of private?
No, I share my music a lot on my Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
And I live in North Delta, which is a part of Vancouver. So there's a Facebook page. I share my music on that page.
Yeah.
So people really like it, but I can't just go out and play because I'll be too scared. But like I've been called to the town hall to play, but it was difficult for me to say no.
With recording, I mean, I feel like that might be. I mean, so you released your music. It just seems like that's
like covers and all of just on guitar on it. And I'm currently working with a singer who will release his music. So and there's a filmmaker who produces videos. I'm working with them.
I'm really glad you're leaning into that, just because I mean, it's just a fun experience doing it. But
it is.
When people find a sense of reward in learning that you do something, or that they develop an appreciation for what you do, and they admire the creativity. I mean, it's just everybody's different, but I feel like that just kind of, at least in my case, sort of took over, and it helped me to kind of feel just better about what I could project about myself. Even though I still had heavy insecurities about my Tourette, and I didn't want people to know about it. It definitely got me by. I mean, I'm really glad you're leaning into it that way.
Yeah.
With the bullying and everything, is it? I mean, are you singled out, or are these people who are just kind of general bullies and they're going after anybody with what they perceive as a weakness?
No, they are not general bullies, because there were people who were used to say nothing to me when I was in school earlier. But whenever I used to tic, they used to comment every time. And after that, when they got to know I had this, they didn't take it seriously, because I told them I have to say no, you just you're just making weird things. And actually, one of my English teacher, called me the class clown, because I used to make sounds like my tics.
Like in a mean-spirited way, or just kind of laughing with you?
Yeah, because when I told her afterwards, she's like, okay. And then the next day she kept on, she didn't understand that I'm doing it because of the Tourette's. She said, you're the class clown because you make fun of me and everybody. I'm like, I never said a thing. She you make sounds to annoy me.
Huh. Yeah. I got called the class clown too, but it was because I really acted out. And I think it was because I felt so misunderstood. I was not a very well-behaved kid, just because I didn't like to be in the position of being misunderstood. I didn't like it when people would speak for me, because I felt like they always got it wrong. And I developed this really difficult attitude where I just wasn't getting along with people, especially figures of authority, because I thought they didn't represent me. And people who were teachers, who were supposed to be the example and people that I could look up to and learn from, I just wasn't getting that from them. And so I became this class clown because it was my way of kind of disrupting the flow of things, not necessarily to get attention, but just for some kind of satisfaction of acting out and letting them know that they didn't have a control over me like they thought they did.
Yeah.
And, I don't know whether that was the right or wrong thing to do. It was just an unfortunate circumstance that I felt like that was the way I had to express myself, because I didn't feel understood at a very basic sense. I mean, even considering your tics, do you feel understood in any way by your friends, your peers?
By my peers, no. Over here, no. But because let's talk about Canada first. I don't have a lot of friends here, like a very small circle, and they are all not very much into being good friends. They just want to make fun of each other. Not only me, but they want to make fun of each other and just go around commenting on people. So I don't like that. So that's why I don't go out with them. But when I was in India, some of my friends knew, and they were really supportive.
Oh, that's good. I mean, so I mean, we talked about it being, kind of stigmatized, and it's not good to be known as someone who had to go to a psychiatrist or a neurologist.
But a good thing about that was there was a movie in India which was made on the topic of Tourette's.
I think I saw this. Is this the one with the teacher?
Yeah, with the teacher, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that really opened up the minds of people, like thinking having a mental health issue or any issue is okay, because like it is okay because it happens to it can happen to anybody. So you have no one to judge anybody.
I mean, that's an important thing to bear in mind, because all these people who are making fun of anybody with anything, I mean, they could have children who have what they're making fun of. It's it's a point that definitely bears repeating again and again when it comes to comedians who make mean-spirited jokes about Tourette syndrome. Is like, you're making fun of kids, and you might have a kid that has the same thing, and what are you going to think then? And it's kind of a shame that there needs to be kind of like a big quote unquote Hollywood example for people to appreciate it, versus knowing people in real life who were just like that, and you didn't appreciate it until you saw it on a TV show or something. The movie you're talking about, I thought was a really great example.
It was.
Was that pretty well received in India?
Like, people first didn't understand what that was. Like, I went to school the other day. My friends were like, "Oh, you have Tourette's." I'm like, "Yeah." So after that, they got to know that I'm not doing it deliberately.
Yeah, that's the involuntary factor of it. Because that's why I feel like Tourette syndrome is such a relatable thing, because
but I'm still being bullied for it.
Yeah, it's just you would think that the involuntary factor of it would have some kind of application in people's lives where they could find some kind of connection to it. Like, there's this one thing that I don't talk about much, and I can't help it. It's part of my life. Mm-hmm. It just seems like it's kind of analogous to what a lot of people deal with, but people just don't make that connection yet.
That's true.
What do you think are your most immediate challenges right now? I mean, is it the social stuff, or is that something that you see kind of waning over time as you grow older? Or
my immediate challenge is to graduate high school, because that seems to be a difficult task for me. And to get into any sort of university with I want to pursue hospitality management.
Okay.
In post-secondary.
Okay.
So I want to have the confidence and all to like complete the course. So that's my immediate challenge.
Where do you want to take hospitality management? Is that like hotels, that kind of thing, or?
Yeah, the hospitality is hotels and management of hotels, restaurant business, food and beverage, housekeeping, back office, front office, and all.
Yeah.
There's a university in Switzerland. It's called Glion Institute of Higher Education. I'm aiming for that because that's one of the best in the world.
Nice.
And my education counselor has been really kind with me, and I'll probably send my application over there by Monday.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So this is, when would that happen if you pursued that?
If I get in, then I like my parents, but the fees is like too much. It's a private institute. So my parents are saying, we give us some time, then we'll think that if we can send you over there, or like maybe you have to study in Canada.
Yeah.
But if they agree, then most probably they will, because they want the best for me, and then it's going to start in September or October.
What's attractive to you about hospitality?
I wrote that in my essay yesterday. They found the same question. So my mom and dad are from both the management and the manufacturing industry. Mm-hmm. My mom used to own hair salons in India, 3 of them, and my dad is he's an engineer. he makes stainless steel molds of ice creams. So like the shapes and all for stainless steel.
Okay.
So my mom was in the management industry, and she instilled in me the qualities like perseverance and like the ambition to be a leader. But that actually didn't work out because of Tourette's, because I had social anxiety. So like I stopped go like from the past month I haven't been out of my house except for going to school and coming back. But I really want to overcome this stepping and length. I think they're stepping stone because like things come and go. But I think social anxiety has been with me for a long time, and I've wanted to go away, and I want to be confident, and I want to face the world.
Well, I mean, having something like Tourette, I feel, and I don't want this to sound like it's kind of a hollow, kind of cheerleading thing, but I do really believe that having something like Tourette and the, I guess, mindset that it gives you, with empathy, because I think it makes you way more relatable to people, and I think you understand people better, or at least you give people room to be themselves because you have something that could be mistaken for something else or could be misunderstood. At the same time, I feel like it also comes with problem solving abilities, and there's the procedural memory piece. I mean, there are so many little advantages in it, but just the adversity and steering yourself through it, because I mean, you're going through, especially with depression, you're going through all these really harsh emotions that you are able to, even though it's super challenging, you're able to keep yourself afloat. And you can look back to times where it felt like it was the end of the world, I'm sure. I mean, that's definitely the case with me. I feel like I learned something every time I have a panic attack or just something that sidelined me for a little bit. I feel like I learned something a little bit more about myself, and I get better prepared, I think, to handle them. I mean, I'm not saying it gets easy, but I feel like I have more equipment that I can apply to other aspects of my life and how I interact with people. And the more I think vulnerable I've made myself and the more open I've been, it makes other people, because, like not everybody's a bully, but it makes people who are a little bit more sincere in their hearts. I think it makes it easier for them to open up as well. And when it comes to management, it just seems like that's a really kind of shining quality, that you'll be able to understand what, your employees are going through, and they may feel more connected to you just as a human being, like you don't have to project yourself as perfect all the time. And I like the concept of just kind of throwing perfect out the window, because, it's not in the cards for me. And it's sort of, even though I do obsess over things, I want my work to be good. And, but just as far as just being a completist with perfection, and how I carry myself, I've kind of just written that off, and it's made it a lot easier for me to just be myself, and then feeling good about it. And I'm really oversimplifying this, but ultimately feeling better about all of that and reducing some of the stressors of my life has definitely made having Tourette easier for me. And the ticking has been easier, and the anxiety hasn't been quite as bad. It's still bad, but it's not quite as bad as it would be otherwise. And since I've opened up to my coworkers about all this, I feel like they just know me in a different way, and they appreciate me in a different way. And it's just kind of this backward advantage to having something like this.
Yeah, that's true.
The Tourette Association of America is the premier nonprofit working to raise awareness, advance research, and provide ongoing support to those with Tourette syndrome or tic disorder. With a network of over 130 chapters, support groups, and centers of excellence, the TAA engages with communities across the nation in an effort to provide tools, webinars, workshops, and support for all seeking assistance. As a primary sponsor of Tourette's podcast, the TAA supports the authentic conversations showcasing the diverse representation of the TS community. To learn more, visit Tourette.org, Tourette.org.
Yeah, have you tried, any medications or anything like that, or are there ways to combat your tics?
I was on medication or since I was diagnosed. So I was taking in India, I was taking different medicines, but since December 11th of this year, last year, I changed to Canadian medicine. So I'll tell you the whole thing.
Yeah.
In India, I was taking haloperidol, risperidone, escitalopram, clonazepam, and these are all the salts. And risperidone, I was taking more than the desired amount of one day. I was taking a lot.
Yeah.
And haloperidol, which is a generation 1 drug, I wasn't supposed to be taking that.
What did it do for you?
I don't know the side effects, because it just happened. I never noticed anything, but it had some effect in my. I had an ECG done, so it had some effect. It had some different abnormality in that, but that was all fine. They figured it all out. But now I'm on risperidone, and I'm only on I was taking 11 tablets a day.
Wow.
Before December, and more than 11. And now I'm taking risperidone, clonazepam, and escitalopram.
I've been on most of those medications that you've mentioned. Haloperidol was one of the early drugs I was on. I've been on just so many different things that, of course, aren't directly for Tourette syndrome. They treat, kind of other things. Helping me to focus and things like that. But, sometimes they also, they can come with their downsides as well. I mean, do you feel like it's getting you to where you need to be, or is it still kind of an exploration?
No, it's still kind of an exploration, because I don't think medicine helps at all. That's my opinion, because it's all in the mind, and it's up to me to cope up with myself. If I wanna, since what can they do? All they can do is control my tics. They won't stop it from happening.
Right.
So I don't believe in taking medicines, but I have to, because my parents are very much they want me to be happy, so I'm taking antidepressants.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me happy, but it's just for their satisfaction, that they think I'm going to be fine, and I'm taking medicines.
So, a big part of this is self-acceptance, and just kind of accepting where you are with everything. And you'll hear from people who just kind of, I wish it wasn't this way. And then the flip side of that is, well, it is this way. What's the best I can do with this? Have you had that conversation with yourself about self-acceptance?
I have some. I do I have. Yeah. I haven't I don't know what that when was, but I know I have self-accepted it, that I'm going through this, and things are not going to be easy for me.
Well, I mean, are you optimistic about your future, and that even if your tics stick around?
I believe that if I try, I can do anything. That's like a cliche thing to say, but it is. Yeah, that's true. Because it has happened with me. Like back in India, I didn't want to study a bit. I had tutors coming to me every day, for 3 tutors every day for different subjects. And I'm like, I can't handle this pressure, and I'm not getting it. There's nothing going in my mind. So what's the point of a tutor? You're wasting my time and their time.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic about a thing, that when I came here, I got a bit focused towards my education, because I wanted to graduate. Earlier, I wasn't, because I'm like, okay, it's gonna happen. And so nowadays, I'm a bit optimistic, because I'm applying for universities, I'm getting calls, and I think something good will happen in the future.
Yeah, that's cool, because sometimes these transition points where you go from middle school to high school, or high school to college, those turnstiles that we go through, sometimes can cause anxiety. But it's and I'm not saying that's a bad thing either, but it's really good to kind of look through that and see to the other side and feel like you're going to be in a good place. I mean, and again, it kind of, what I'm saying kind of sounds like a cliche too, but I do believe that. I do believe that it's better to look ahead and feel good about where you're going to be versus just dreading it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what does set off are you triggered by anything in particular?
I'm not actually, not for the depression. Depression hits me it can hit me anytime.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I just feel like I want to cry, and because it's all because of the emotions. That's what I think. The emotions inside me. I don't like to talk too much to anybody.
Mhm.
Like if I want to talk, if I'm talking to you, I talk a lot. But and yeah, like I won't talk to anybody a lot, like for a long time. So like including my family, I'll just stay quiet in my room playing guitar. So that I think emotions are a big thing which sets my which triggers my depression, because when they don't come out, they in the end they intend to come out with a burst.
Yeah, that's the way I am. And I definitely, I've been kind of, and even increasingly as I've gotten older, I've kind of gotten more introverted, and I don't exactly know why that is, but I think part of it is because me recognizing the severity of my depression and my anxiety, I don't necessarily want to make other people feel bad that I have that. And I've always kind of shut
Yeah.
myself away. So I'm not necessarily on exhibit quite as much. And if I am having a hard time, I don't want to just keep going through the motions of acting like I'm happy and putting on a smile when I'm, just really feel torn up inside. And so I'll just kind of shut myself away. And I don't necessarily think that's a good thing for me to do, but I am always keeping myself busy. I always have a project in front of me. I always have something that I feel like I can rebound when I am spending time by myself, learning a new skill, just something. But
that's good.
Yeah, but I've definitely had to, I think, check myself on the balance between locking myself away too much and and putting myself through the challenge of socializing with people and having conversations. Even, I don't like small talk. I like having meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
But even just kind of putting myself in these positions where I'm just doing, all the basic social stuff that people do. I don't exactly know why, because I don't feel like I need to apologize for shutting myself away because I do feel good.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want to challenge myself so I can get in these situations and just stay in practice with handling them. It's not easy though. Do you find yourself to be kind of introverted, or, I mean, do you like, otherwise, do you like socializing with people when you're in a good place, or?
No, I just want to sit alone. Even if I know everybody, I just want to sit in or like on a couch or in the corner, listening to my music, or just doing nothing and just sitting. Because when I socialize, my anxiety builds up, social anxiety.
Yeah.
And then I tend to, my tics tend to trigger, and then they come out.
Yeah, I definitely have the social anxiety, and I think it's kind of wrapped around the fact that when I am socializing, or if I'm in a business environment with my colleagues, I never really feel, with some exceptions, but I never really feel like I'm being myself. And I feel like I put myself on exhibit to myself, where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I talking this way? Why am I agreeing with what this person is saying when I completely disagree? It's just, I feel like I'm just completely, like I'm in a pinball machine, and I'm just kind of getting batted around to just kind of get through it. And then when it's over, I go back home, I shut myself inside, and I hang out with my cats. And that feels like every day to me. And, that I think is my challenge, to kind of just feel good about, being in a social situation. And I love talking to people. I love learning from people. I love having real conversations like the one we're having right now. But I feel like so much of socializing is kind of putting it on and being someone that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with. Like, I don't feel comfortable with myself when I'm socializing. What are the bright spots in your life right now? I mean, there's music, and you have, a career to look forward to, college and everything like that. I mean, what else do you feel good about?
Like, there's actually, honestly, there's nothing in my life that I'm happy about except for these two things. I can't go. People say that they're not happy because they can't go out. because of the pandemic, but I'm actually happy because I can't go out. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Because people won't force me to go out.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
I used to be forced. I'd go out for a bike ride. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go. But they used to force me a lot.
I have a pretty small core group of friends these days, and I feel really fortunate because I think they get me. I think they know kind of, the quirks about me and where I'm coming from. They don't pressure me like I feel like I might have been pressured in past situations. Where it's like, hey, we're going out tonight. No, man, you're coming. I'm like, no, I don't feel like it. No, dude, you're coming.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've developed a really considerate patience with me, and I try to pay it back and be a good friend to them however I can. Because again, I don't feel like I need to necessarily apologize for being the kind of person I am. It's just, how do I fit that with the rest of the world? And that's kind of the big trick. I mean, which I guess is kind of a lifelong puzzle to figure out in my case anyway.
Yeah. I want to figure out that this is girl I really like. Like, it's not just liking. So she's been my friend since grade 6. She's in India. So like, I've told her about my mental health issue, but not Tourette's. But how do I tell her? Like, and then she's like, if she's gonna see me with the same outlook she does, or her views on me are gonna change.
Yeah, that's difficult because it feels like a big gamble because, you want to keep that closeness. You don't want to, I mean, if you guys have been that close for that long, do you feel like she's picked up on things about you where she might, suspect that there's something Tourette-like with you?
No. Because I like, we haven't met since 6th year, but we chat every day.
Yeah.
So like, things were pretty rough between us because they were in the past, but now they're pretty well settled. But I don't know how to tell her.
That's something that comes up a lot. I mean, that was one of the biggest reasons why I decided to kind of stay closeted when I was in my teenage years and into my adult life, because I was worried about judgment, and not just judgment, but I didn't want them to take what people tend to think Tourette syndrome is, or something they've seen on TV or something they've seen in the movies, like a comedy routine. I don't want them to go ahead and like, skip all the way to that judgment, and they think that's kind of what they're getting with me. And, it's like, I want to present kind of like what I was saying before. It's like, I want them to take me on my, whatever my talents might be, or, or the kind of person I am. And, and you just kind of have to hope that they still see the same person. And if you have something additional, that, they may think about Tourette syndrome differently versus thinking about you differently. I mean, that's always the hope.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something you probably think about every time you talk to her, right?
Yeah. But like, I don't know how I'm going to tell her. Like, I have no idea.
See, this is something where I would love the people listening to kind of weigh in, because it's a real thing. I mean, on the one hand, there's just the classic advice of, just go ahead and tell her, and if she accepts you, then she does, and if she doesn't, well, that's her fault. But I mean, it's a precious situation because if you've known her for that long, and I would love to hear what everybody thinks about if this is okay for me to ask everybody, because
it's okay. Yeah.
It's a cumbersome type thing where we can all have the mentality of, I know I'm a good person, and if she doesn't see that, that's her fault. That's kind of the bumper sticker version of it. It's in practice, especially if you're dealing with, other emotional things. I mean, it's heavy. At the same time, it's also your business, and, your Tourette syndrome doesn't have to be everybody else's business. And I know people pick up on it when they're socializing with you or when you're in school, but it is also your thing, and you can choose to keep it to yourself, because I don't think it's dishonesty. I wouldn't expect anybody else to tell me about, their heart condition, or, if in a relationship with someone, that's something I might eventually want to know. I just still like the idea of you being you and her appreciating you for being you, and you have this other stuff that goes on with you. You know, I don't see it as being deceptive if you decide to just kind of stay the course and be yourself with it.
Yeah, that gave me a lot of hope.
Has your Tourette kind of just presented itself to people where people know, or have you been in situations otherwise where you've had to tell people? Like, how have you explained it?
I actually have never explained it to anybody except for recently. I've been doing it because my tastes have increased a lot because my medication has been changed. So yeah, that's why. And so I explain them like I just say I have Tourette's. I make sounds. That's my tic. It's normal. So just don't be scared or alarmed because of my tic. They accept it. They're, okay, that's fine. Like unless you're okay, so everything's fine.
I mean, is that pretty much how your group of friends is? I mean, they still kind of accept you for you.
They one like I'm connected to more of my brother's friends than my friends.
Yeah.
So or back in India also, I used to hang out with my brother's friend more. He's 22, so they're older. They understand. So and like his friend came over at home. I'm like, yeah, I have Tourette's. So I have tics. Say, okay, no problem. It's okay. You told me that's okay. And then I have a cousin who he also studies in UBC. So he came over and I told him I have Tourette's. So he's like, yeah, okay, no problem. So like if a person is matured enough to understand, then it's good. But some people are not. They're really immature. They want to make fun of everybody just to act cool.
I remember when I was younger, with the exceptions of my teachers, I identified with adults a lot more than I did with kids. I like their conversations better because
that's the same case with me.
They sounded more mature and I was more interested. And I didn't feel like preying on me was the first thing on their mind. I felt like they wanted to, and again, some exceptions here because, some people are ignorant, throughout their entire lives, but it definitely, and I remember this too. I remember thinking like, I can't wait till I'm older. I can't wait till I'm my dad's age, that kind of thing. Because I felt like that was going to be kind of like a breakthrough for me. And, I mean, obviously it's a long time to wait, but it gave me a sense of optimism when I was kind of gonna, hit a career age that, I'm still going to meet ignorant people. And they're probably ignorant to, other people in their lives too. I'm probably going to have a more rewarding circle of friends and colleagues and people like that. And that has been totally true with me, even though I've only been open and out about having Tourette for 3 years now. I mean, it hasn't been that long. I'm 40 now.
Since the podcast started?
Yeah. When the podcast started, I mean, that was my opening up. And I remember even letting my employers know because there was a newspaper that wanted to do a write-up about it. And I was like, I don't want you guys to be surprised, but I have Tourette syndrome. And they were like, oh, okay. And they were more, you could tell they were a little bit nervous about asking the right questions, which...
I get it.
Yeah, but I liked that versus them kind of recoiling and making some negative judgment about me. And to be fair, it's because they also knew me, for a good while, and they knew the kind of work I could do and all that. So it wasn't like some, breaking point for them that, oh, he has Tourette, we have to distance ourselves from this guy. They appreciated me, and like I was saying earlier, just me kind of having that vulnerability, which again was way late in my life, but it helped them to open up to me too and become, I think, closer to me because they felt comfortable being vulnerable themselves because they knew I wasn't going to judge them. And that was like a huge, victory for me personally, just to get to that point and feel like I can get closer to people that I would otherwise feel like I'm maybe going through the small talk motions with. Like I knew them as humans and they know me as a human now. And that's something that made me feel great.
Yeah, that's really nice of them to treat people as they are, because everyone should be treated equally. That no, like despite anything, their background, their ethnicities, their what they're going through, everyone should be treated equally.
Yeah, or just treated equally, and we, if we recognize our differences, they don't set us off. There are things that we appreciate, and and it really upsets me and makes me mad when you said that people are lumping racism on top of that too. I mean, that's just
because I don't know, there's so many Indian people in my school, but everyone targets me for the way I speak, the way I do anything.
I mean, I know other people listening are in a similar situation to where they have concerns about how they're perceived based on their race or country of origin. And there may be no easy answer to this, but have you figured out a way of kind of not letting that haunt you throughout the day? I mean, and I'm not saying like that it excuses them at all, but I mean, how have you dealt with that?
Like I take things to my heart very easily, so there's no way they are like, as of now I don't have a technique or any way that I forget things very easily. It's just by time, as time passes, I keep forgetting things. But if say someone bullies me to 2 days from the day before yesterday, so I won't forget that thing till a month. It will be haunting me every night. Like when I'm about to sleep, it's gonna come to mind. Oh, that this guy did this to me, and what was my reaction to it? It keeps on haunting me.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I don't think we've talked about quite enough on the podcast. And, even though I hate that this is happening, I'm glad that you've brought it up and you're able to kind of put this down, because there are other people out there who are going to relate to this really directly. I grew up like a middle class white guy, and just objectively speaking, I haven't had the same life challenges as a lot of other people have, because I haven't really felt racism being directed at me or anything like that. It's a completely different thing. So when someone, I speak with this guy, Miles Walker. He's been on the podcast before. He lives in Tennessee. He's Black and he has Tourette. And I've heard from other people too. During the Tourette Gala, there was this guy, Will, and his mom, and they were talking about how, it's a sensitive situation if they get pulled. Say if he's driving and he gets pulled over and the cop mistakes one of his tics for something that's hostile, like what's going to happen? It's just all these extra considerations that I haven't had to think through personally for myself. And I want us to talk more about that. I hope at the end of the day, I mean, that you have a really large community of people who do care about you and they do understand you. And, even though you haven't met them, people in the Tourette community, I haven't met so many of the people that I've talked to on the podcast. We've talked on the podcast, but that's about it. But I still feel like I had that presence, of people around me who get me and who understand me, and they got my back, and I can talk to them and they get where I'm coming from. And just being on the same planet with that has helped me out a lot. And I do hope that you feel a sense of comfort knowing that there's a big community out there who does care about you and understands you.
Your podcast community on Twitter and Facebook is the thing I go to, like whenever I'm I listen to your podcast in the morning. That's the first thing I do. If there's any there's new episode every week, so I wait for it. But I've not listened to all the episodes. The recent one I listened to was with Ryani Patel, with the author who wrote 2 books.
Yeah, she's great.
Then I reached out to her on Instagram because she's also from India, and we had a chat. I feel very comfortable, knowing that I'm not the only one. And people are there to help me. People like you who take initiative for everyone of the Tourette community. Yeah, that makes me feel really comfortable.
Well, man, I mean, I'm so glad to hear that. And I promise you that the more you think about that and the more you connect with people, because it's changed my life. I've had a different set of challenges than you in my life, but it's completely improved my life. Just I don't feel that sense of isolation that I used to feel. I don't feel like I have to hide things as much. And I know there are these like vague feelings that I have that I could go through my life thinking I'm the only person thinking the way I do. And just knowing as a matter of fact that there's a million other people out there who know exactly what I'm talking about without me having to over-explain it or add all kinds of background information. They can just follow me, even though we're complete strangers. It is a really unique thing. Like, I don't feel like that's something that everybody has. I feel like it's kind of a rare thing to have that kind of connection. For me, that's my favorite thing about having Tourette is just having that secret language, that secret club of people who just kind of get me.
That is a really good definition of you saying that it's a secret language and a secret club. I really like that.
Man, I mean, this is, and case in point, I mean, we've been talking for more than an hour now, and it doesn't feel that way. I feel like we've been talking for like 20 minutes. It's been great. And I mean, I want to thank you, but I don't want to cut it off early if there's anything else on your mind, because I'm free to talk about anything you want to talk about. Doesn't matter what it is.
I can talk all day, because like talking about Tourette's with someone who can relate is a really comforting thing. Or like, talking about anything with someone relates to with me is a really comforting thing. And you, especially, I'm not saying because you are the host of the show, or I'm just saying because I feel a connection with you because of music. Like you play guitar, I play guitar.
Yeah.
We both are self-taught. The academic way, because I really struggle at academics. Like you said, you were not a very well-behaved kid, and I can relate to that. Because same, I was not also really well-behaved kid, class clown, and like everything I'm talking about, I can relate to with you.
Yeah, that's the best part, because we don't even have to talk about Tourette syndrome. I feel like it's like that's out of the way. Yeah, we can talk about anything else, and and you get it, and I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
and Tourette is out of the way. We understand that. We know that, and which is the other thing I love about this community. We can talk about anything. It can be books, it can be movies, it can be just any random topic out there, and it feels different talking about it with people in the community than if I was talking about that same random topic with anybody else in the world.
Yep.
I can't thank you enough, because there are so many things that we discussed that I want to talk more about with, just put it out there as a subject to discuss. I mean, especially the disclosure piece with relationships and so many things that we hit. I mean, obviously the racism layer, I mean, is something that, the world is addressing it in one way or the other. Having difficult conversations, I think, are becoming more frequent, but obviously there's so much work to do. But just us having this talk, like us, I feel like I understand you in a different way. It's something more to appreciate about you, the challenges that you're actually going through. But I do mean what I said earlier, where I feel like it's kind of like this backward advantage of being able to having dealt with these situations and these emotions that maybe other people in the world haven't. And you end up being better prepared when these challenges come up later in life, or you have to give advice to somebody else who isn't quite to the point that you're at. I promise you, just hearing from you, just people hearing from you, I promise are going to feel better about themselves and their place in the world and their sense of isolation and all that, just because we had this conversation. I mean, I promise it's going to help.
Yeah, that sounds silly. Like I can't believe someone's saying this to me. Like I'm making a big impact, and I never thought I would be able to do this. Like that's a really big thing coming from you. Like when I discovered your podcast, I told my mom, like, there's a podcast and there's a guy who hosts it. Like, you should watch it because you'll get to know more about it. So I just kept on watching. I watched the first season. Like when I messaged you on Twitter, that's when I was watching the first season of the podcast. And I just watch random shows on episodes on your podcast, which every time there's a different story which I can connect to.
Thanks so much for listening. Thanks, Shikhar, for stepping up. That was really strong and important to go through. And I want to hear your feedback from listeners. And by the way, Shikhar is in the Tourette's podcast discussion group on Facebook. So you can leave some thoughts for him on his situation in the comments under the post about this episode, which is the awesome thing about the discussion group. It actually does help. Questions, answers, Tourette stories. It's just a good place to go and relate, so follow up there. You can also email me, tourettespodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. And you can offer little bits of support to the show if you'd like at patreon.com/tourettespodcast if you're enjoying or benefiting from the conversations here. I'm actually about to wrap up here and do another interview. Saturday Mornings with Joy Keys is interviewing me about the podcast and about the Teen Summit. It's a live internet talk radio show, and I'll link to the replay at tourettespodcast.com when that's ready. Or you can go to blogtalkradio.com/joykeys. So I'll have that link up at tourettespodcast.com. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you next week. This is Ben.